Amazing Christmas wish. Accidentally sent to single dad. Discover the touching truth behind it. Lucas's phone buzzed with a vibrancy that sliced through the stillness of his dimly lit living room. He glanced at the screen, expecting another work-related message, but instead found a text meant for someone named Claire. His heart clenched as he read the words, a heartfelt wish for the holidays, packed with dreams and memories. It felt like an echo of laughter from a life long past. Memories of his wife's voice and the warmth of their home splashed with holiday lights. 3 years since she left, and loneliness seeped into each corner, especially during this time of year. As he stared at the screen, an internal battle brewed within him. A part of him wanted to ignore the message, allow it to dissolve into the electronic ether. Yet, another part, a hungering part, yearned to reach out, to connect. He hesitated, questioning what right he had to intrude into Claire's life, to engage with a stranger's dreams. Would answering be an act of kindness, or a foolish distraction from the reality of his own wrecked life? His mind raced with the weight of responsibility. Mia was at a critical age, struggling in school and teetering on the edge of adulthood, while he fought tirelessly to provide not just with a paycheck, but the emotional stability she needed. He could feel the pressure. A warehouse supervisor by day, a janitor by night, each hour spent working more a testament of love than survival. Yet at times, it felt relentless and soul-crushing. The crushing grief of his wife lingered, and now this unexpected message was adding to the emotional chaos. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days turned into nights, his longing for connection amplified, fueled by Claire's words. Each text exchanged deepened a bond he didn't anticipate forming, a kindred spirit on the other side of the screen. She spoke about her struggles as an artist, drowning in familial expectations that stifled her creativity. Lucas found solace in her vulnerability, recognizing the familiar thrum of pain coursing through his life as well. Yet dread loomed in the corners of his mind. What if this connection jeopardized his relationship with Mia? He could already see the cracks, her withdrawal into herself, battling demons he couldn't quite articulate. He wrestled with the notion of pulling back, of stopping the conversation with the woman whose messages somehow reawakened his dormant passions. But fear gripped him. Fear that it was these very dreams that would shield him from the truth about his life. Just as camaraderie sparked between them, Lucas received another text that shattered the fragile peace. It detailed Claire's family business, in jeopardy, its impending collapse serving as a reminder of childhood dreams evanescing under pressure. He could feel the cold grip of anxiety clutch at his throat, an all-consuming dread swirling, as he realized he couldn't simply stand by. What if she needed him? The weight of his own grief and Mia's burdens felt multiplied, pushing him to a precipice where every decision mattered. With each beat of his heart, the tension thickened. Could he really embrace this nascent relationship when it risked unraveling every delicate thread he had tried to weave back into his life? As Lucas contemplated the implications, his phone buzzed again, an urgent nudge signaling changes ahead. He stared, pulse racing, knowing the truth behind that text could genuinely alter everything for him and Mia. Would he dare to peel back the layers of this connection, or risk losing the little joy he managed to keep alive? Lucas's thumb hovered over the screen, heart racing as the message seduced his attention. I've been thinking a lot about family and dreams lately. I feel lost. Claire's words sliced through him, raw and poignant, reminding him of the dreams he buried deep within. Dreams once shared with his wife. The weight of that text bared a truth that felt too heavy to ignore, yet too haunting to confront. What if he could help her? The thought sparked a flicker of hope within him, a possibility of redemption, as he negotiated the blurred boundaries of their relationship. He crafted a response, hesitating on the words, "I understand," which swirled into something deeper. He wanted to convey not just empathy, but a semblance of strength. He wanted Claire to know she was not alone in her struggle, that he too felt adrift. Steeling himself, he sent back a simple message of encouragement. The seconds ticked by with agonizing slowness until his phone vibrated again. In her next text, Claire opened up more about her dreams of becoming an artist, her fear of failing her family's expectations. Lucas felt more compelled to engage, his responses growing longer, pulsating with a newfound urgency. As he typed, his thoughts simmered in the realization that discussing dreams with someone reminded him of his own, his aspirations shriveled by the relentless passage of time. Each back and forth fostered a connection that electrified him. It pushed him to reevaluate what he wanted for himself and Mia. But the deeper he delved into this relationship, the more guilt surged in like a tide, drowning out the brightness of their conversations. Was he being selfish? Was he allowing this kinship to distract him from being the father Mia needed? Lucas could feel her isolation grow as he became more consumed by his dialogue with Claire. One night, after an intense conversation, he got up to check on Mia. He found her room dimly lit, her laptop glowing, eyes affixed to the screen, a stark contrast to the laughter they used to share. The revelation was painful. Mia needed him, but could she also understand his need for connection? His mind turned over in turmoil, weighing his relationship with Claire against the backdrop of his lone struggles with Mia. He had heard nothing recently about her friends, disconnected more each day from their school life. Would reaching out to Claire be a step toward healing for himself, or just another way to perpetuate his avoidance of reality? As Lucas tossed and turned on his bed, he pondered how to bridge the gap he felt widening between him and his daughter. He could not ignore her. He needed to be there for her as she faced her own uncertainties, trying to emerge from the cocoon of adolescence. But the comfort of Claire's messages was intoxicating. I tasted hope again, rekindling aspirations he thought long dead. And in that moment of reflection, Lucas realized that facing his own burdens could lead to discovering strengths he had yet to wield. Perhaps opening his heart did not mean compromising his role as a father. It could be an opportunity for growth, revealing different facets of his grief and resilience. All it took was a conscious step forward. Before he could make a decision, his phone buzzed once more. Claire's message read, "I think I need a partner, someone to create with." The implication sent a rush of confusion through him. It was an invitation, a call to action. But more daunting was the realization that he had to choose: engage fully with someone who understood him, or retreat back into the shadows of isolation. Lucas found himself at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take, knowing that clarity would be hard-won. The suffocating pressure to choose between his own needs and those of Mia pressed down on him, compounding his despair. Would he dive into this collaboration with Claire, risking everything, or refrain from joining her quest for creativity, pulling away from the connection he so desperately craved? The time had come for Lucas to face not only his grief, but also what kind of father he wanted to be, amidst the tangled threads of connection and withdrawal. Lucas pressed his palms against his eyes, the weight of his internal struggle coiling tightly around him. He had always prided himself on being a dedicated father, a steadfast pillar for Mia. But lately, it felt as if the foundation was cracking, the jagged edges of loneliness puncturing the comforting facade he maintained. He took a deep breath, hoping clarity would come. Mia was at the center of his world, yet he wondered if he could build a bridge between his aching needs and her silent suffering. The messages from Claire swirled in his mind, painting vivid pictures of dreams deferred and possibilities untapped. Their conversation sparked a flicker of longing within him, a longing to reconnect with the artistic self he once nurtured. The inkling of a muse was something he'd thought relegated to the rearview mirror, a casualty of daily life. The phone vibrated, pulling him from his thoughts. A notification from a local art group flashed on the screen. They were hosting a series of workshops aimed at aspiring artists. His heart raced. This wasn't just an advertisement. It was a lifebuoy tossed into his turbulent sea of despair. He could sign up, immerse himself in creativity, and perhaps influence Mia to do the same. Maybe they could rediscover their bond through art. If he took this step, it might provide a shared experience that would put them on the same path toward healing. Fingers shaking, Lucas opened the message, but instead of signing up, he paused. Could he really do this? He began to type a reply to Claire, then hesitated as doubt washed over him. Every moment he spent with Claire felt like stepping further away from the father he envisioned. Was he running toward something invigorating only to leave a part of himself behind? Resolutely, he closed the app, battling inner demons that fed on uncertainty. Mia needed him more than ever. The vacant expression she wore as she sat in her room haunted him. He owed it to her to be present, to shed the layers of neglect that had crept into their lives unnoticed. Was this interest in art a diversion or a route to healing? His heart clenched at the thought. Determined to spark something between them, he approached Mia's door. A soft knock gave way to silence before he entered. Her brows furrowed in concentration. The laptop screen illuminated her face, casting shadows that mimicked the depth of her hidden feelings. "Hey, kiddo," he ventured, trying to sound chipper despite the gravity in his chest. She glanced up, the flicker of surprise quickly replaced by indifference. "Hey," Lucas hesitated, feeling the weight of the moment. "I found something interesting today. There's an art workshop happening next week. I thought maybe we could sign up together. Do you think you'd want to?" Her expression transformed, eyes narrowing in skepticism. "Why? You've never cared about art before." Her words stung, shedding light on the distance that had grown unspoken between them. They used to share art supplies, creating together on lazy afternoons when laughter echoed through the house. Though he wanted to explain, to reveal how this was a new path for both of them, he felt the words inside him morph into a chokehold. "I care," he managed to say, the truth wrestling its way out. "I just thought we could reconnect, like we used to." Mia's gaze remained locked on him, seeming to weigh the sincerity of his offer. "I don't know, Dad," she replied slowly, a hint of vulnerability brushing against her resolve. As Lucas stood in the doorway, a suffocating silence hung between them, each heartbeat amplifying the unresolved emotions that pressed in around him. Could he uncover a way to bring them both back to shared dreams? Or would this attempt only drive a deeper wedge? With renewed conviction, he resolved to try and coax the creative spark from the ashes of their shared past. But inside of him brewed a lingering question. Would this be the step toward discovery, or a misstep into regret? The lingering tension reminded him of Claire's words, their significance growing heavier in his mind. As Lucas took a step back, he wondered if by pursuing art, he was somehow abandoning their divergent paths, or paving the way for a shared journey. The answer remained elusive, and he grappled with the prospect that the next choice he made could irrevocably alter everything. His connection to Mia, his relationship with Claire, and the self he was still striving to rediscover. The phone buzzed again, and the screen lit up with Claire's message, intensifying the conflict brewing within him. It read, "I can't help but feel like we were meant to create something together." Suddenly, Lucas realized he was standing at the precipice of a decision no man should have to make. Would he leap into creativity with Claire, or falter back into a past of regrets with Mia? In that moment, he felt the weight of possibility drenched in uncertainty, hovering on the cusp of personal evolution and familial connection. Lucas leaned against the doorframe, the bittersweet silence wrapping around him like a fog. As he watched Mia's guarded expression, he was struck by the chasm that had formed between them. He yearned to bridge it, but felt utterly unequipped to do so. This workshop could be their lifeline, yet she seemed unwilling to seize it. "Just think about it, okay?" he said, his voice steady, yet tinged with vulnerability. "It could be fun." Mia shrugged, eyes flicking back to the screen, dismissing him with an air he hated. Every moment of her rejection pierced his heart anew, revealing layers of guilt and anxiety he had buried. He stepped back, giving her space, but as he turned to walk away, an idea leaped into his mind. What if he started the workshop without her? He could delve into that creative world alone, reigniting his artistic spark, and hope she'd join later when she sensed the change in him. The thought ignited a flicker of excitement, but it quickly dimmed as he realized that pursuing his passion without her might drive them further apart. The fear of failure loomed larger than any spark of ambition. Wouldn't that only serve to underline her doubt about him? That night, as Lucas lay in bed, the shadows danced across his walls. He replayed his conversation with Mia over and over, each time hoping to find the right words he had missed. What could he do to reach her? A deep-seated frustration built inside him. The longing for connection was intoxicating, yet his instinct to play it safe clawed at him. Where was the line between pursuing his interests and being the father Mia so desperately needed? Deciding to confront his own fears, he began sketching in the dim light of his bedroom, the pencils gliding across paper, breathing life into observations he had held close for so long. He found freedom there, a release from the chaos swirling in his mind. Each stroke was a step toward reclaiming not just his artistic identity, but also a chance to share that vibrant world with Mia. Days passed, and Lucas attended the workshop, stepping into a space filled with creativity he hadn't experienced in years. The room pulsated with energy, laughter mingled with strokes of paint, voices echoing ideas and thoughts previously unstated. With each lesson he grew, tapping into a well of inspiration that had lay dormant for too long. But with every moment of artistic enlightenment came pangs of guilt. He was creating alone while Mia remained in her cocoon of skepticism. He wanted to nurture her, to draw her into this craft that illuminated his spirit. Late at night, he pondered how to ignite her curiosity. Would showing her his sketches entice her? In a moment of boldness, he decided to prepare a small surprise. He gathered some supplies and created a piece he thought Mia would appreciate, something delicate yet powerful, a reflection of both his journey and theirs. He poured his heart into it, hoping it might serve as a bridge back to her. The day he was set to reveal his creation, however, he hesitated, feeling the weight of his own expectations. What if it didn't resonate with her? What if she dismissed it, like she had dismissed their potential together? He wrestled with a newfound sense of vulnerability. When he finally brought the finished piece into her room, Mia looked up, startled. Piecing together the emotions swirling in his chest, he took a deep breath and said, "I made this for you, hoping it might help you see my heart, the part of me that wants to reconnect with you." But as Mia examined the artwork, a mix of skepticism and surprise crossed her face, and Lucas's heartbeat quickened at the uncertainty of her reaction. Would this be a moment of breakthrough, or would it unveil greater distance between them? As the silence stretched out, he braced himself for her response. Would his leap of faith lead to a shared moment of connection, or deepen their rift? The answer loomed heavy, and Lucas stood on the edge of another pivotal decision, one that could change everything between them once again. Mia hesitated, her gaze shifting back and forth between the artwork and Lucas. The silence thrummed with tension, and as Lucas stood there, bare and vulnerable, a part of him wished he could melt into the floor. Her expression told him nothing, leaving him perched on a precipice of hope and dread. What he had crafted was more than paint on canvas. It was a mirror of his struggle, confusion, and desperate yearning for reconnection. "Why didn't you tell me you were doing this?" Mia finally broke the silence, her voice low, but he could hear the underlying curiosity. "I was afraid you wouldn't care," he admitted, the weight of his fear pressing down on him. "And I thought if I just showed you this, Maybe it would invite you back into my world. Mia's eyes softened for a fleeting moment before she regained her composure. Lucas, you know I have my own battles. I don't just jump into things because you want me to. Her words were a knife's twist in his heart, yet he recognized the truth in them. Mia was struggling, and this opportunity he encountered in the workshop, and the creations it had birthed, was merely a fraction of what he wanted for both of them. Maybe I'm not leading you well, he stated, frustration bubbling beneath his calm exterior. I've been so caught up in my own journey that I didn't think about how to include you. I thought showing you my art would lead you to participate in it, but I should have asked how you felt first. For a moment, Mia studied him, and the tension seemed to lift slightly. Do you really think this is just about art for me? She asked, her voice laced with incredulity. Instinctively, he drew closer. No, I see that it's deeper, Mia. I know you have your reservations, but what if we could discover something together? A way to express what we both feel. This isn't just about my passion. It's about us trying to rebuild what... But what if I can't? She interrupted, bitterness seeping into her tone. What if being involved with you again is like stepping into a field of landmines, where one wrong step could blow us to pieces? Lucas felt a moment of clarity through her fear. She was right. He had been so focused on hoping for reconciliation that he hadn't considered the risks involved. Their past was fragile, like a delicate glass sculpture, and each attempt to reshape it needed to be intentional. What if we don't try to recreate the past? He suggested gently, recalling a lesson from the workshop. What if we start from new ground together? Just take it day by day? Mia glanced at the painting, her expression softening further. You really think we can start fresh? I think we can learn together, he replied, desperation rising in his chest. I want to understand you, to know your struggles, and to show you mine. This doesn't need to be about art alone. It can be about us too, discovering each other again. As she mulled over his words, Lucas's heart raced with a mixture of hope and fear. Would she take the leap with him? Would she risk vulnerability for the sake of connection? Mia looked away, contemplating, and the room fell silent as they lingered in a moment thick with possibilities. Finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I guess I could try, but no promises. Relief washed over Lucas, and his resolve strengthened. Perhaps this was their first step, no longer traversing the lonely paths of autonomy, but moving toward a shared journey. With renewed purpose, Lucas began envisioning ways to incorporate Mia into his newfound passion. He made a mental plan as he watched her gaze flit back to the artwork, a flicker of interest sparking in her eyes. But even as hope blossomed, another voice within him whispered a warning. What if this attempt to reconnect ended in heartache? A sense of foreboding tugged at him, hovering like a phantom, reminding him of the delicate balance they had to maintain. As he watched Mia take a tentative step closer to the piece he had created, an idea flickered in his mind. Would inviting her into another artistic endeavor deepen that fragile trust, or expose wounds still raw and unresolved? And thus, he recognized the next crucial moment looming before them, the chance to truly test their connection in both art and heart. Would they embrace this risk together, or would fear push them apart once again? Lucas leaned against the wall, the weight of unresolved feelings clinging to him as he contemplated the path forward. The room felt still, yet electric with possibility. Could he truly involve Mia in his world without overwhelming her? He remembered the workshop instructor's advice about creativity being a collaborative journey, not a competition. This sentiment resonated with him. He had approached his art with an insular perspective, but as he looked at Mia, he understood the need to create space for her voice. It was time to merge their stories into something authentically shared. Mia, he said, his voice steadying. How about we try our hand at something together? Her eyes sparked with cautious intrigue, but he couldn't ignore the shadow of skepticism crossing her face. Like what? You know I'm not an artist, she replied, crossing her arms defensively. Every experience we have shapes us, right? Maybe we can craft something simple, just to explore how we feel together. No judgment, no expectations, just paint our thoughts. The flicker of doubt in her expression was palpable, but undergirding it lay curiosity. He could feel his heart racing in the charged silence. All right, she said, her voice softening. But what if we don't know what to say? That's the point. Lucas grinned, feeling a thrill of excitement. We'll discover the dialogue through the painting. If we get stuck, we can talk it out. With a slight nod, Mia stepped closer, her reservations hanging in the air like an unspoken agreement. Lucas took the initiative, collecting paintbrushes and colors, lining them up like tools of potential. He couldn't shake the flutter of anxiety in his gut. This was a step into uncharted territory, both personally and artistically. He glanced over at her as she hesitantly picked up a brush, her grip tentative. What color do you feel right now? He asked encouragingly. Blue, she replied, her brow furrowing in concentration. It feels heavy, like sadness? Lucas nodded, processing the admission. It echoed his own feelings, the weight of nostalgia clinging to the edges of their reunion. Let's embrace that. What does blue represent for you beyond sadness? It's calm too, she mused, as the initial hesitation began to fade. Maybe hope? The transformation in her tone ignited something within him. He could feel the tentative bridge of communication forming, dissolving some of the barriers they had erected. Then we'll start with blue, he affirmed, hoping she felt the same flicker of promise that coursed through him. Minutes turned into an hour as they began layering color on canvas, mixing blues and whites, each stroke becoming a dialogue. The silence between them transformed from an uncomfortable void to a shared space of exploration and connection. With every passing moment, Lucas unlocked new dimensions of understanding, discovering how Mia's past and present wove into the fabric of his own work. But an unsettling thought nagged at him. What if this creative venture didn't just expose their vulnerabilities, but further fractured what they had rebuilt? What if revealing their artistic selves stripped them of the protective layers they clung to? Mia, he said, pausing as she stepped back to assess their creation. What if we find something we can't come back from? Her eyes, swathed in reflections of blue and white, met his. Isn't it worth the risk? Her question echoed in his mind, reverberating along the walls of his heart. Their artistry was evolving into a raw narrative. A risky venture, yes, but one that could foster growth or lead to disaster. Overwhelmed by the weight of that moment, Lucas faced a decision that threatened to unravel all he aimed for. Would he continue daring to paint a future, or shield himself by retreating once again? The canvas stared back at him, a metaphor for their journey together, its vast potential both terrifying and exhilarating. As he and Mia stood at the brink of creativity, Lucas realized he wasn't just confronting the color on the canvas. He was confronting the depth of his own emotions. Would he dare to embrace the unknown and allow their shared narrative to unfold, no matter where it might lead them? With a deep breath, Lucas decided to plunge into this shared experience, feeling the stirring of resolve blossoming within him. He picked up a brush, his fingers trembling slightly, not solely from anxiety but from exhilaration. He dared to meet Mia's gaze, recognizing the potency of her response as she, too, seemed to gather her courage. In that moment, their hesitations hung in the air, challenging each of them to break free from the invisible shackles of their past. As brush met canvas, vibrant hues merged and mingled, creating a dynamic blend of blue and white that felt like a physical embodiment of their emerging dialogue. Each stroke felt like a word spoken, sometimes tentative, sometimes bold. The initial heaviness of sadness lifted subtly, revealing nuances of optimism and clarity. Yet every stroke also felt precariously close to the edge, as if one wrong movement could send them careening toward an emotional abyss. "What do we do when it gets messy?" Mia asked, pausing to dip her brush into a particularly rich cerulean hue. Her voice trembled with uncertainty. It was a question that echoed in Lucas's chest. "Embrace it," he replied, admiring the deepening color that radiated on the canvas. "Messy can be beautiful, just like life. Maybe that's where we find clarity." Nodding, Mia seemed to let go a little more. Her brush swept across the canvas with newfound freedom, leaving swirling strokes that reflected a catharsis of the heart. Lucas's own movements became natural, losing the rigidness he'd felt moments earlier. It was an opening, a moment of awakening where they both explored their emotional landscapes without judgment. But apprehension still skittered along the edges of Lucas's thoughts. He was aware that while painting was a transformative act, it also demanded vulnerability. What if they exposed too much? What if the very act of creation unraveled the threads of their newfound relationship? The stakes felt dangerously high. He shuddered, pushed by a desire to climb over that wall of fear. "What do you want people to feel when they see this?" he asked, probing deeper. Mia paused, her brush hovering over the canvas. "I want them to feel connected, like they're part of something bigger. Isn't that what we're trying to do?" "Yes." The sudden rush of affirmation coursed through him. He'd spent so long shrouded in self-doubt, but her vision ignited something fierce within him. A bold desire to craft not just a painting, but an experience that resonated with empathy and authenticity. Every stroke became a declaration of intent, and as the life they infused into the canvas unfolded, something shifted in him. Lucas could sense that the limits he had defined for himself were beginning to blur. He was no longer just an observer in art, but a participant, a creator forging connections through the very medium he had once thought of as solitary. But as their creative dialogue flowed, Lucas's mind veered off to a pivotal moment ahead. What if this fusion of their voices led to a revelation that could either strengthen or splinter their bond? The thought created a storm of tension, coiling tightly within him. "There's something powerful in what we're creating," he said, contemplating the implications. "But it might lead us to truths we're not ready to face." Mia paused, her expression suddenly serious. "Maybe that's the point, Lucas. Maybe facing those truths is what we both need." With that declaration hanging between them, a flicker of foreboding ignited alongside the thrill of revelation. As Mia resumed painting, the canvas morphed into a swirling mass of colors, reflecting not just their joint effort, but the complicated tapestry of feelings binding them. Lucas didn't know whether to welcome this impending confrontation or to shy away from it. Yet he felt tethered to this moment with an intensity that left him breathless. What awaited them at the other end of this creative journey was a mystery, one laden with both potential and peril. Would they emerge emboldened and enriched? Or would the honesty of their creations expose hidden fissures that were better left untouched? As he dabbled in the colors with renewed fervor, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of unearthing buried truths. The real question was whether they would be able to withstand them, or if the weight of those revelations would crush their fragile connection. This looming uncertainty lingered in the air, pregnant with possibility, as Lucas prepared to navigate the unforeseen path ahead. As the hours stretched on, the room filled with the scent of paint and the soft rustle of brushes gliding along canvas. Lucas became increasingly absorbed in the piece they were creating, his heart racing with each new splash of color. The cacophony of emotions made him acutely aware of the vulnerability that lay beneath the surface. With every stroke shared between Mia and him, it felt as if they were peeling back layers of themselves, laying bare tangled histories and unvoiced fears. What if we set out to expose not just our art, but also who we really are? Mia's voice broke the rhythm of their silence, a gentle challenge weaving through the air. Her brush, now a fiery red, danced across the canvas, igniting deeper hues that pulsed with life. A nervous laugh escaped Lucas. Are we ready to get that personal? What if the world outside doesn't understand? Or what if they do? Mia challenged back, her eyes gleaming with determination. Her question hung heavily in Lucas's mind like a weighted pendulum, swinging between fear and hope. Was he even capable of sharing such raw truth? The self-assured artist he had often imagined himself to be felt like a farce. The fear coursing through him was all-consuming. Yet, there was another, more insistent voice within him, the one that whispered of authenticity, the need for expression beyond mere aesthetics. As their conversation deepened, Lucas began to navigate the terrain of his own fears more consciously. He raised his brush to a fresh area of the canvas and thought of the burdens he had carried. With precision, he painted jagged lines and shadows that represented his struggles, the anxieties, the doubts, the suffocating expectations he'd always placed upon himself. It was painful and liberating all at once. Mia examined his strokes, her brow furrowing in concentration. Is that what you see when you look at your past? Sometimes, he admitted, hesitating. Sometimes it's all I see. The honesty in that admission transformed the painting space. It became a haven of exploration, pulsating with the tension between earnestness and the fear of exposure. Lucas felt a profound connection to Mia as her brush mirrored his, each swirl, each line, pulling them closer together through this shared vulnerability. What about you? He asked, his heart racing. What do you want to show people? As she turned back to the canvas, Mia dipped her brush into a gleaming gold, highlighting areas of pain amidst her intricate forms. Strength born from chaos. We all have something to overcome. It's how we respond that defines us. Her words struck a solemn chord within Lucas. He realized he had allowed the weight of his past to define his present. Yet here, in the midst of creative chaos, he felt something shift, an awakening pushing him towards understanding how to harness that pain and transform it into purpose. What if he could further confront the tangled emotions that had lingered unattended? He hesitated, then took a deep breath, pushing himself toward an idea he wasn't sure he believed in. Maybe I could create something that would let people feel they're not alone in their struggles. It might not be pretty, but it could be real. Mia's eyes widened with enthusiasm. That's it, Lucas. Create a piece that reflects not just you, but the shared human experience. Make it a vessel for everyone's stories. Craving that connection was both exhilarating and terrifying. What began as two individuals with personal burdens had morphed into a conversation about the collective human struggle. So intricately tied, yet deeply personal. Lucas felt a surge of empowerment. The enormity of turning his pain into art began to feel more achievable. Could he really step away from the narrative of isolation he had woven around himself? As the day faded into evening, a vibrant tapestry unfolded on the canvas, a fluctuating dichotomy of darkness and light that illuminated the dance of fear, resilience, and discovery. Yet even as the painting progressed, a new uncertainty loomed. Every additional stroke pressed against the confines of his comfort zone. The closer they came to uncovering the truths buried within, the more tangible the stakes felt. Would he find the courage to face the truths that had long been locked away? With his heart racing at the thought of revelation, Lucas painted furiously, but questions of vulnerability and connection danced before him, blurring the line between bravery and fear. What awaited him in the depths of that confrontation? As he stepped back to assess their creation, the possibilities expanded before him. Would he rise from this journey emboldened, or would the weight of those hidden stories prove too much to bear? The chase for authenticity loomed on the horizon, challenging him deeper into the heart of who he truly was. He held his breath, ready to dive into the unknown, knowing that this path could either be his liberation or his downfall. The brush fell from Lucas's hand, its clatter echoing in the silence as he stared at their creation, a chaotic fusion of his fears and unyielding hope. They had visited the precipice of expression, yet the shadows of self-doubt loomed larger than ever. The vibrant colors hinted at a story waiting to unfold, but beneath that vivid surface lurked the terror of exposing himself completely, of laying bare every hesitation and wound. "Are you okay?" Mia's voice broke through his reverie, her expression a blend of concern and encouragement. I don't know. This feels monumental, but I'm terrified. What if it's not enough?" Lucas admitted, shame washing over him like a cold wave. He felt vulnerable in this moment, undone and raw, even more exposed than when he wielded the brush. Enough for what? The gallery? The world? She paused, her eyes steady on him. Or enough for you? Her question pierced through him, forcing him to confront the deepest recesses of his mind. He had been so focused on external validation, on crafting something that fit a mold that perhaps only existed in his head. But what if the meaning of enough was defined by his own understanding of self-worth? What if this process was less about a finished product and more about his journey of self-discovery? "Maybe I've avoided looking at myself too closely," he murmured, processing the weight of his realization. "Maybe I've been trying to create this perfect image instead of embracing the messiness of my own reality." Mia nodded, her expression reflective. "Art isn't always pretty, Lucas. It's the emotion behind it that resonates. Those jagged lines and shadows mirror your journey. Embrace them." Determined to embrace that chaos, Lucas returned to the canvas, color swirling in a revival of fervor. Every stroke became a confrontation with a fragment of himself, a chance to reclaim his narrative, not as a mere survivor, but as an artist who had absorbed pain and transformed it. With each deliberate movement, he felt a new sense of clarity washing over him. The dark hues began to intertwine with gold, representing the resilience Mia had spoken about, the triumph born from adversity. For hours, they lost themselves in creation, each layer building a bridge from discomfort to acceptance. Lucas poured out the essence of sleepless nights, stagnant fear, and hesitant hope, a testament to a struggle he had buried too long. The brush became an extension of his desire to be understood, to connect on a level that transcended spoken words. As the final strokes fell into place, Mia stepped back, taking in the whole picture that now thrummed with life. "It's beautiful," she breathed, awe spilling over her features. "You captured the duality, the raw and the radiant." Lucas stared at their collaborative canvas, the story unfolding before him, feeling an unfamiliar swelling in his chest. It was more than just colors and shapes. It was vulnerability infused with strength. He had taken the plunge into honesty, confronting demons that had seeped into various facets of his life. The walls of isolation softened, now painted over with interlacing colors of shared experience. "I didn't realize how liberating it could be to let go," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. A spark of new understanding flickered in his mind. By embracing this truth, he was granting himself permission to exist without the weight of judgment. Yet, as the intoxicating rush of creation filled him with elation, it was soon followed by a gnawing sense of dread. Would this be enough to satisfy not only the audience but himself? Had he truly broken free? Or were the chains of expectation too tightly wound around his heart? Unsure of the response from the outside world, doubt lingered like a shadow at the back of his mind, threatening to overshadow his triumph. Realizations rolled over him, lighting steps toward an unclear future. He had opened a door, but he could sense the resistance that awaited him on the other side. With a sudden jolt, he realized that this was just the beginning. The unveiling of this canvas meant confronting judgments, questions, and fears beyond the act of creation itself. Was he ready to face that? Lucas took a deep breath, his resolve hardening as he faced not just the canvas, but also the possibility of discovery, of taking this newfound courage beyond the confines of their studio. The time would come to unveil the raw truth behind the art. But would he step forward boldly, or falter beneath the layers of vulnerability he had just begun to embrace? As he considered the implications this new journey would bring, the room thrummed with uncertainty, yet the promise of potential loomed large. What would it mean to present his truth to the world, to find validation in both acceptance and rejection? The decision weighed heavy, the canvas acting as both a mirror and a portal to a life perceived through an artist's lens. The uncertainty surged within him, propelling thoughts towards what lay ahead. With newfound determination brewing, Lucas stood ready to confront the chaos not just within himself, but also in the hearts of those who would view his work. And in that moment of decision, one question tirelessly emerged. Could he transform this newfound courage into a lasting dialogue, both in art and in life? The brisk wind sliced through Lucas's coat as he stepped into the small local gallery, heart thrumming wildly against his chest. The upcoming exhibition loomed ahead like a giant wave ready to crash, filled with exhilarating anticipation and self-doubt. It was a moment he had envisioned for years, but never believed he would reach. Today was not just about showcasing a piece. It was about unveiling the depths of himself, the struggles, his fatherhood, and the tenuous relationship with Mia. As he moved through the gallery, he caught fleeting glimpses of other artists' work, vibrant pieces that exuded confidence. He swallowed hard, aware that his own painting, a raw manifestation of pain and resilience, would hang alongside these polished creations. What if it falls flat? The thought flickered through his mind, a whisper amplifying the anxiety bubbling just beneath the surface. But as he positioned himself beside their collaborative creation, a cacophony of emotions swirled inside him. This artwork represented so much more than mere paint and canvas. It was a testament to both his journey and Mia's, a bridge built from the ashes of isolation and yearning. More than that, it was a step toward mastering his vulnerabilities. As the gallery doors swung open to the public, a mix of chatter and excitement filled the room. Lucas felt his heart race. This was it, the moment for resolution. But could he bear to face the scrutiny of others? He spotted Mia standing nearby, a profound glance exchanged between them, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had undertaken. This moment was as much hers as it was his, and the weight of that realization bolstered Lucas's confidence. As guests wandered in front of their artwork, he could hear snippets of conversation, their reactions validating each stroke, each emotion. Powerful, someone mused, while another remarked, "The vulnerability here is striking." With every nod of recognition, Lucas's heart expanded. Each positive comment peeled back layers of fear, revealing a burgeoning sense of acceptance within him. Perhaps he had reinvented not only his relationship with Mia, but also his identity as an artist. Moments stretched into hours as the evening unfolded, and Lucas noticed a poignant shift in his perception. The pressure he had felt to create something perfect lessened. Instead, he focused on the connection his artwork fostered among people, strangers who resonated with the vulnerabilities laid bare. "You did it," Mia whispered as they stood before their creation, a hint of pride in her voice. "I knew you could." The warmth of her words enveloped him. Right then, in this moment of connection, it hit him. He had conquered his demons by opening up not just to the canvas, but to the world, a profound achievement that sparked a surge of validation. Later that night, as the gallery began to clear, the owner approached Lucas with an expression of respect and admiration. "You've created something exceptional here. It's evocative. It resonates. We want to feature you in the upcoming showcase." The words sent a jolt of disbelief through him. Recognition from someone he held in high regard filled him with a euphoric sense of accomplishment, an acknowledgement of his growth and artistic journey. This was not only external validation, it confirmed his transformation, the solid confidence he had cultivated. "Thank you," Lucas replied, the sincerity behind his words echoing the depths of his heart. Each facet of his being felt invigorated. He had proven to himself that he was capable of navigating the intricate dance of vulnerability, a duality that would strengthen his role as a father and an artist. Back home, Lucas found Mia curled up on the couch, a half-finished book in her hands. Her gaze lifted, warmth washing over her features as he entered. "I did it, Mia. They loved the piece," he exclaimed, the triumph rolling off his tongue and filling the room with energy. A smile crept onto her face, a genuine reflection of shared joy. "I knew you would. You've always had it in you." In that moment, Lucas felt it. Months of insecurities, fears, and nourishing conversations with Mia culminated in this shared recognition of growth. He had not only rediscovered himself, but had also strengthened his bond with her. "Can you believe we're on this journey together now?" he asked, taking a seat beside her. "No, it's pretty wild," she admitted, laughter bubbling like a distant memory surfacing. "But I think I'm ready to explore more of this art stuff. You've shown me a side I want to understand." Her openness sparked a flame within him, a commitment to nurture that connection. Together, they would take steps toward navigating uncharted waters, supporting each other in dream-pursuing ventures. "You're going to pursue art too?" he asked, his excitement palpable. "Yeah," she replied, determination coloring her words. "Let's find out what other stories we have to tell." In that exchange, something fundamental shifted within Lucas. He saw not only a daughter longing for connection, but an equal, a creative partner ready to embark on shared adventures. This realization marked a new chapter, one filled with collaboration and exploration. Lucas snuggled into the couch beside her, both aware of the winding paths that lay ahead, yet confident that together they could conquer anything. Knowing that their journey as artist and curator of life would evolve continuously, Lucas felt a wave of fulfillment wash over him. He had achieved so much, faced his grief, reignited his passion, and forged a deeper bond with Mia, who was once shrouded in isolation. This metamorphosis resonated within him, a sincere commendation to the relentless pursuit of connection and creativity. The night deepened outside, but the warmth in the room felt unyielding. In that serene embrace of each other's presence, Lucas understood that this wasn't merely the conclusion. It was a prelude, an invitation to an expansive horizon where their tales would intertwine like brushstrokes bleeding into a masterpiece. And as they washed over with dialogues of vulnerability and hope, Lucas beamed with pride, ready for the next colors yet to be painted in their lives. Now is the time for you to leap into action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support future content just like this. Comment your reactions and theories about how Lucas and Mia's journey might evolve next. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because you need to champion these stories of personal triumph. This is the moment to show your support for artistry and connection. Don't wait even one more second to act.